Okay, we're recording. I'm going to mute everyone except for Brent.
Which is completely clear.
Okay.
Healthy, no sinus. 3 years.
Okay, Brent, now you can unmute yourself.
Okay. So I am the one that requested this topic, not because I remember much about Chesterfield, but the few memories that I do have were very formative. I just have happy memories with all the Knapp kids and the Doug and Audrey's kids being up in lava. And I was much younger than everybody else, but I was the younger cousin just following everybody around, having a good time. And they're just such fond memories for me. So I wanted to get a lot of other people's memories about them and kind of relive it. And yeah, that's all I want.
Okay, cool. Thanks. Let's have people that want to talk about Chesterfield unmute themselves and start talking. Should probably start with Joseph, huh?
Does anyone remember what year?
$1989 is when you bought Chesterfield. 91 is when we went to spend the summer there.
Okay, Job, start talking about it.
How old were you, Joe, when you went to spend the summer there?
Well, here's the question, Brent. Are your memories of Chesterfield or of us up there playing all over the place?
Mostly playing all over the place, driving cars, going to lava, a little bit in Chesterfield, but my most positive memories are not necessarily of Chesterfield. Some of them are, but they're just you guys always being around is the biggest part.
All right, well, I'll give you about a 5-minute backstory and then we'll move into Chesterfield. And if it's not going the direction you want it to, then you stop me. Hi, Marie.
Did we lose Job?
Josie, if you went on mute somehow.
Yeah, you're on mute now, Joseph.
Oh, thanks. Okay, so we used to go to lava all the time when my mom and my dad were trying to figure out their situation and whether we'd move to Idaho. We would get dropped off in lava. Now, in the beginning, I got dropped off in Pocatello because that's where Kim and Marcy lived. Not that I was as big a fans as them as I was their daughters. So that's where I would stay. Later, when Kim and Marcy moved to lava, then everybody would hang out at Kim and Marcy's house and play video games and jump on the trampoline. And I wanted to farm. So I would hang out with John, and John would let me drive Grandma's 1972 Chevy Impala up and down the ditch bank while we were checking water. And Marge bought me a pair of irrigation boots, and I could hang out with John, and he could tell me about squeezing alfalfa juice and how if we could dig a river from the Canadian Rockies down through Arizona, we could have a bigger river than the Mississippi and water the whole West and solve everybody's problems. And I did that for 2 or 3 years with John. And I finally got big enough that I could do some work. And Jim came and found me and he said, "What is it you want, Joseph? What are you always up here for?" And I said, "Well, I want to farm." And John told me that he's going to get a little money on Tuesday or going to get a lot of money next week. And then we're going to start to farm. So finally, Jim put his arm around me and he said, "Johnny, ain't ever gonna farm again in this life. If you really want to farm, you had better come with me. And Jim started to take me with him down to the Lava Ranch, where Ken and Colleen and 411 geese and 2 dogs and Doug and Audrey's family and Bernie Louise's family were all living in the trailer house. So anyway, we spent the time there, and then Sean would play with the younger children and do their thing, and they'd go to Kim and Marcy's house or sometimes go to the pool or the hot baths, and I stuck with Jim. And he started to teach me how to swath hay and cut burrs and stuff. Then our family moved up to Idaho Falls, and we would come to Lava when we could, but we were in Idaho Falls. And Ken and Jim borrowed some money, and if I remember right, there was some help from Kim, and they bought the Chesterfield Ranch. And so we went down to see it. Our family went, and we all drove out to Chesterfield. And the closer we got to the ranch, the more barren, the more remote, the more big skies, the more rolling hills, and the more in love I was with Chesterfield. We were passing the old farmhouses that had been abandoned. There nobody living in them and boarded up. The Hatch's house and on and on. And so then we got out to the Hebden place, which the Andresses bought. And there was a little farmhouse there, and Steve Hebden was there showing it to us and telling us that's where he grew up as a kid, and his father worked there, and I think his brother was Alton Hebden. Jim would probably know more details about that. For me, it was a dream to be out there. Big, huge open places and big ranch and a canal above and a farm below, and there's the Chesterfield Reservoir. And so it was pretty amazing, I thought. Then the next year, I was a freshman, went to school in Provo, and the next year I asked Jim if I could come work on the farm, and he said, well, I don't know that there's much to do. I said, well, I could move pipe, I could do something. He said, well, I could hire you to move pipe out to Chesterfield, and all I needed was didn't even have to crack the door. I was ready to just put my foot in the door and go after it. So I don't remember the details, but we made arrangements that I was going to go move the pipe. So I'm pretty confident that I conned Guy into it, and Jess, and then my mom, you know how my mom likes parties and lots of people, so she invited herself and Doug and Audrey and the whole everybody. I don't think that Audrey was ready for me to raise Guy, so Audrey decided she'd come and help. And we moved into that house out there in Chesterfield, and we got the address figured out on the mailbox so the mailman could come. And the price of a stamp was 25 cents because we could tape a quarter to the envelope and the postman would take it. It wasn't very long that Kathy and Amber and Dawn and Guy and me and Jess and Tim were there. And then, of course, the Andrus children, Ken's children came some. Kim, Nicole came for a week, I think. I don't know if Camille came out there. I don't think any of the other children came out. And then I don't know how it got handled, but Audrey stayed with us for quite a while, maybe 5-6 weeks. And then my mom came to spell Audrey so Audrey could get stuff handled back in Spanish Fork. And they were there together for a week, probably overlapped. And then we started to hear from the neighbors they were pretty concerned that the Andresses had started a polygamous colony and were dropping their wives and children off because they had children all over the place and several women, but they never saw any men out there. So they're pretty worried about that, I think. So in the beginning, we would go to church in Lava, but then I wanted to go to church out at Chesterfield. So we kind of got to know a few of the ward people out there, and they had a few youth. And the bishop was Bishop Hatch. It was a cute little ward building out there. Somewhere in all of that stuff, we discovered the old Chesterfield town site. Now, not any of the restoration of the Chesterfield town had been done yet. So they had they'd had two original schoolhouses. One burnt down or fell down, and then they had the one from the early 1900s still standing. It was there. And then the old building from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints was being operated by the Daughters of the Utah Pioneers. And they had a little museum in there and a pump organ, and they had photographs of previous bishoprics and old apostles' pictures. And it was kind of like walking into a museum. And there were some old brick houses still up. Now, the Chesterfield town today has been restored with quite a bit of effort and money, kind of like Nauvoo in miniature. So there's some real pioneer heritage there in Chesterfield, and you can feel it. And we were out in the middle of the sticks. There wasn't anybody around, and the only person with a driver's license was Audrey. So anytime we needed to go anywhere, we either had to con Audrey into taking us, or we'd get on the three-wheeler and we'd go as hard as we could. And we got the worn out three-wheeler that Ken and Jim couldn't take anymore. And it had a sprocket chain drive on it, and the chain would slip off because it was so, the sprockets were wore. So we had it figured out that if the chain came off, we knew how to put it back on and keep going. We were out checking the gopher traps one time and the squirrel traps, and I can't remember who it was, but somebody fell off and we drove over them on the three-wheeler. They fell off the side of the wheel and we went right over the top of them. I can't remember who we crushed that time. So in my memory of it, and then Audrey probably should chime in, we'd get up early in the morning, the boys would, we'd go move pipe. And then when we came in, Audrey always had a really good breakfast made for us. And then we'd have prayer and scripture study. And one time Jim was out there checking on us and found out what we were doing, and he started calling it morning devotional. We're having devotional. Everybody better gather for devotional. So we did that. The house had mice in it. And sometimes we would hear the traps go off at night, and sometimes we'd catch mice. But the most memorable was when we were all in bed asleep, and we heard Dawn give a blood-curdling scream, and we jumped up out of bed and came running, and Dawn had found a mouse and was screaming, and Audrey came running out too from Dawn screaming, and Dawn was so hysterical she couldn't talk. She just kept pointing, screaming till we found it. So then we started to swat at it, and I hollered to Guy, get a broom, the Ajax brothers are gonna exterminate. So Guy and I had brooms, and we were beating on it and pounding around. We finally got the thing killed. If we hadn't have killed it with a broom, I'm sure it would have died of a heart attack. And Dawn, boy, I don't know if she slept for the next 2 days, but I guarantee she didn't sleep on the floor again. So there's some of that. We would play in the granary. They had some old trucks that we'd play driving the trucks in, but we did move the pipe. And then the boys got feeling pretty full of ourselves that we were doing all the work. And the we'd come in and the girls would have food ready and we'd mow it down, and then they wanted us to wash the dishes. And we said, we're not washing the dishes, we moved the pipe. So the next day or two, when we got up, the girls, and I especially remember Dawn, had her irrigation boots on, and she had her long dish gloves on, ready to move the pipe. And those girls went out to move pipe, and there'd be 3 or 4 girls on a pipe because they couldn't lift it by themselves. And so they'd tromp across the hay field carrying that pipe. And I remember thinking, boy, when Jim sees all this hay smashed down from us tromping it, he is not gonna be happy. But for several days, those girls helped move the pipe. So we did that. And then I'm gonna skip forward and tell a story that happened, and then I'll come back to kind of the daily run. One time, Guy and I were out moving pipe. Now, I can't remember the whole deal because at some point, Jess and Tim moved back to Provo for the rest of the summer and left me and Guy there moving the pipe alone. And we usually worked together on a line and we'd get it all done. And I think we had 5 or 7 hand lines we moved, and then we had 2 and sometimes 3 wheel lines. And the way it worked is there was a water source up on the hill, and it would come down on the main line onto the King Creek property, make a 90-degree angle, and the end of the main line ended right near the house by the road. So all of the gravity pressure would come down that main line, hit the bottom at the road where the house was, and then back pressure clear back to King Creek. So anybody on that main line needed pressure. And we were warned, don't ever lose pressure, because if we lose pressure at our place, it will cost King Creek their watering. So we had to be real careful to do everything just right. One day I had a line of pipe hooked all up, ready to go. And I grabbed the valve opener and opened it all the way up, and then you'd hear water rushing down the pipe, and you'd hear it back pressure and clear at the end where the back pressure started, or at the top where there's high pressure. Sometimes you could hear those sprinkler heads start to spew and sputter the air pressure, and then pretty soon start sprinkling the water. One day I had that valve and I was opening up, and I heard a different sound, kind of a whining hum. I thought, that doesn't sound just right. And I turned around and looked, and either I had forgot to latch the valve opener to the pipe to secure it, or it had come undone. I'm not sure which. But the riser that has the pressure in it started to shake and take the valve opener off. And I knew if that thing came off, I would never be able to recover it. I knew I'd be in trouble, and I could see it slipping up off the riser. And I went running as hard as I could, and I jumped over the top of the valve opener and grabbed my hands around the bottom of the main line and pulled with all my might, but it was too much pressure. And the water pressure blew that thing off with me on it, poured water up into my coveralls and my chest, and physically moved me away from the pipe. It was kind of like those Tom and Jerry cartoons where a fire hydrant bursts and they blow up on top of it. And I was in real trouble. I was miles away from help. The nearest neighbor that could help me was Steve Hebden, and he was 4 or 5 miles away to his house from where I was then, let alone if he was even home. I did not know what to do. And so I walked over a hill where I was in the tall alfalfa, until nobody from the road could see me if anybody was driving by. And I knelt down in the hayfield and I said, Heavenly Father, I'm in real trouble. I need help. I don't know how to fix this. and I'm going to cost the other farmers their crop, and this crop won't get watered. And a flash of inspiration came to me, thoughts that were not coming from myself. Well, grab another valve opener, go upstream one riser, and open up all the pressure you can to relieve pressure from that line. So I immediately obeyed that voice. I ran up the pipe, hooked a valve riser on it, opened it all the way, and just opened water right out into the field. That relieved some pressure from the first line, but still not enough that I could make it work. So I prayed for more help, and I felt the same voice tell me, well, do it again. So I grabbed another riser and I went up one more riser head. I grabbed another valve opener and went up one more riser and opened up pressure. And that relieved my line enough that I physically could reach my hands around and pull it down and clamp it. And then I shut the other two valves, and all the pressure came in the line the way it was supposed to, and all the pressure for upstream. So I was so deeply grateful for the answer to that prayer, immediate answer, that I went back over the hill where I had first prayed, and I offered a deep, sincere.
I started my 8th grade year here, so it's
I started a deep, sincere prayer of gratitude for the help I had received. So I wanted to tell that experience. Now, Kim and Marcy had opened the Lazy A Ranch. Ken and Jim called it the Bean Barn, but on Saturday, that was our day to go to town and get our supplies and get our groceries. So we'd go down, we'd get our pipe all moved, and then we'd go to Lava and we'd see our cousins there. And we probably still owe Kim $1,500 to $2,500 worth of food we never paid for. We just show up and chow down. I don't know why Kim and Marcy let us do that, but we'd eat their baked potatoes and their shredded beef, and then we'd dance all night. And boy, they were good to us, and the food was awesome. And they had live entertainment, a cowboy show, and Kim would screech on the fiddle a little and then let the band really fiddle, and Marcy would sing with Max, and Cammie washed a lot of dishes and did some cooking, and anybody that got sick of that, Nicole would host them up the hill in the garage playing video games. So that was every Saturday night. Boy, that was fun. And John and Marge would come there. I did not know John and Marge could dance till we saw them at the Lazy the Lazy A Ranch. John and Marge could dance, boy, and they'd go around and around the circle, and it was fun. So that's kind of my memory. And then the next few years, when I finally got old enough to have a driver's license, Guy and I, and Jess, when he was there, would live in Lava in the little trailer that was across the creek. And then we'd drive out to Chesterfield every day, move the pipe, set gopher traps, and then we'd come back to the Lava Ranch, and we'd pull sagebrush or put up hay or fix fence or whatever. But the first 2 years that I didn't have a driver's license, we lived out at Chesterfield.
Nice. Thanks, Joe.
Joseph, did you and Guy and Jess move pipe there two summers?
We did, yeah.
And was Audrey there both summers?
The second summer, I believe that Audrey was there for the first 4 or 5 weeks. And then I think she had to leave, and I don't think we could live out there without help. Now, the next year when I had a license, Guy and I would go out. Somebody was renting the house, and Guy and I would go into the Quonset hut where there was a camp trailer parked, and Guy and I would sleep in the camp trailer, and we ate cold pork and beans every night for dinner out of a can, every night. So we'd go there, move our pipe, eat our cold pork and beans, sleep in that camper. The next morning we'd move the pipe again, and then we'd drive back to the ranch. That way we only had to make one trip a day instead of two.
Okay, who else has memories they want to chime in?
I found some pictures a few minutes ago that I took when we were out there. I don't know if there's a way, they're on my computer, which I'm on. I don't know if there's a way to show them. Is that something anybody'd like to see?
Yeah,
Of course.
Um,
Are the pictures on your computer?
yeah. So I looked to see if I had physical copies, but I couldn't find any. So Tim, you'd have to tell me if it's possible to get to them.
Audrey, I do this all day, every day for work. So
Okay.
mouse over, and at the bottom, you should see a green square that says share screen.
Oh, okay. I see that.
So click that, please.
Okay.
And then it'll open up, it'll show you all of your different tabs. Click on the tab that you have the pictures in, and then there's another button that says share.
Okay. I'll do that, but I'm gonna check and make sure I know where they are again. I looked at them a few minutes ago and I need to get back to them.
so
Audrey,
Audrey, while you're looking that up, tell us your memory of being up there, being a polygamist wife and taking care of us.
I thought it was an interesting experience. I enjoyed it. As far as I know, I don't have any bad memories of it at all. I enjoyed finding old canned fruit in the basement of that place that I don't know how long it had been there, and making cakes out of it and feeding it to you guys and hoping nobody got poisoned.
Tell about the bathtub, your favorite story.
Oh, the bathtub. We didn't have much warm water. We didn't have a lot of water except in the basement one time when it flooded. And Amber was mad because I wouldn't let her play with the paper dolls she'd left down there.
Yeah.
Yep. I didn't know where the water had come from. So several people would have to bathe in the same water. And I remember, I think Jess was the last one to bathe one night, and it was pretty brown by that time. And I told him I had some special bath water for him. And he wasn't too impressed when he came and saw the bath water, but I think he was a good sport and he did bathe in it. So
Audrey, did you do that 2 summers? Were you
no, I don't remember being there more than that one summer. So I don't know.
It's probably why I went back to Provo.
Excuse me?
That's probably why I went back to Provo, Tim.
Yeah, because you were so used to bathing when you were that age.
Mom Joseph said that the first summer that Tim and Jess went back to Provo, so he was making a joke that that's why he went back.
Oh, okay. Anyway, okay, Lisa, maybe I'm ready to try this. Okay, so I share screen and then I go to
Click
wherever,
the tab you want.
find the, okay, it's under documents and then it's under Chesterfield. Okay, and now what do I do?
We can see it.
Okay,
You can see the pictures, so if I,
well,
No,
I
we
see
can
your-
see your folders.
you can see the folder?
Yeah,
Okay,
so we see your Chester reeled.
okay. I'm bringing it up. You see that one? There's one of everybody standing on the porch and,
I think you're on a different tab than the one you've shared with us.
oh,
You're sharing us your documents, so we see Chesterfield, Ivan, Susie.
okay.
Here, this is what I see. Do you see we're seeing this that I'm drawing on. I don't know if you see that I'm drawing.
I see a bunch of scribbles.
Yep, so this is the page we see. Maybe drag your other images to that tab and to this part of your computer.
Hmm. Uh, Well, I'm not doing very well here. I see, now I can't even bring up the main screen.
And then stop sharing and try again.
Yeah, that's what I would do. And when you're ready to share your screen, it should go straight. Click on the pictures one.
Oh, boy. Okay, just a sec here.
Well, while Audrey's working on the photos, can someone start to talk about Anjanette for me?
Forgot she was there.
Oh my God.
Didn't forget. I've never forgotten it.
I want to know which summer it was when Guyman got himself a girlfriend.
The second summer.
When
You
his mom
mean-
wasn't there.
Do you mean the Christensen neighbor?
Yeah.
When the dad
Yeah,
told him
that's
to
the
come
one.
back when he was in Eagle Scout?
Yes.
And he never did either one.
Oh man. One thing I remember about Chesterfield, that was the first place I ever got to shoot squirrels. So that was fun for me. It was a bunch of us. I don't know how we had as many 22s for each kid, but we would spread out, Milo and Brent and Guy and Jess and Joseph and me and
Brandon.
BT.
Yeah.
And we'd go down and just feel pretty hardcore shooting squirrels. Never felt more like a man than I did when I was 10 years old.
And then I remember we would nail them to the side of the barn or something too.
Crucify him.
And I mean, they were dead, but then they would like, it took them to stretch. That was remember doing that with Brandon.
Oh, I'm sorry you remember that. That wasn't one of our better moments.
So Chesterfield is one of I think that's my second memory of BT. My first memory was we went downtown. It was sometime in the summertime, and BT was in a tanning competition. And he was laying out and having judges judge his tan. He won like a year's supply of Sunkissed soda or something like that.
That's amazing.
Is he on this?
Yeah.
Brandon.
Yeah, BT will have to share more about that.
Yeah, I was the champion of the youth division of the can contest. And I never drank a single one of those Sunkissed, but I did win like this giant tube that you were supposed to pull behind a boat. And since we didn't have a boat, we just would slide it down the back patio stairs of our house. And that's what we would sled on.
I won a competition at Chesterfield. Does anyone remember my prize?
Didn't you get that candy bar at the dance?
Yeah, we all showed up to some dance at the church, and I won the.
Some sort of Elvira.
Yeah, I won
The man about town, because you danced with so many different people.
I danced. I got the gentleman from out of town, and I got a candy bar. It blew my mind because I think it was the second candy bar I ever had in my life.
Probably the last time you ever danced with a girl too.
We can do a whole nother Zoom call about you and Jess getting me to dance with girls I didn't want to dance with.
But weren't they pretty much almost all your cousins? So.
Probably.
Or Laddie's friends.
Supposedly I'm Zoom sharing, but I don't know that you're seeing anything.
Yeah, we are. We're seeing the same, your folder of.
We see like the JPEG tiles, but not the actual full picture.
This looks more detailed. Just click on one of those pictures.
Okay, actually I have clicked on one of them. There's one that I've clicked on, but now up above it says my screen sharing is paused. Why? Okay, now resume share. You don't see any pictures, even little small ones?
Yeah,
I
we
see
see
thumbnails that look like they're Chesterfield.
Okay.
Yeah, we see the JPEG thumbnails, but not actually when you click on them to make them viewable.
Okay. And so when I click on it, then it tells me my screen sharing is paused. Well,
it looks like it might be behind that one.
Yeah, minimize your folder.
I don't have my minimized bar, isn't there? Okay.
Maybe you'll just have to have them be emailed out.
I'll just have to email them. Lisa
Hey, Audrey,
wants to.
let me try this. I just asked you for control of your screen. Let me see if I can do it.
Okay, I can trust you, huh? You won't find all my secrets.
Okay.
Okay, she's controlling my screen.
Minimize, but it's not. It says it's controlling your screen, but it's not doing a thing.
I'd like to comment on the dishes thing, Joseph. I'm pretty sure you were probably asked to take your dish to the sink, and that's what you got mad about. But
Amber, I actually have a picture of Guy and Joseph at the sink, and I think they were doing dishes. So
surprised he did woman's work when he's out there doing everything else. I have a feeling that it was Don and me that may have fought with him about it.
Well, I have a feeling that you wrote a letter to my girlfriend and I never heard from her again.
Amber did? Amber
I don't remember that, but it was
Oh,
probably
I'm sure you don't remember that.
Okay. Whatever actually mail. How would I know your girlfriend's address? That's ridiculous.
Yeah, Laddie, would you like
when
to
you say
enlighten Amber?
Okay, hold on a second.
Oh, Audrey, I couldn't do anything. I gave you your control back.
Okay.
Audrey, everyone be quiet for a second. Audrey, can you click the button that says end screen share?
Stop share, yeah.
Okay, now when we're done, if you email those to me, I'll put them on and put it on YouTube with this for everyone to see.
Okay, so I need to wait till we're done though. You can't do anything with it now, I guess.
Well, yeah, you can email them to me now.
Okay, we'll work on that for a second. Well, this is
okay. Now we can resume
So,
arguing
Joe,
about
okay,
well,
and mute yourself.
sabotage relationships.
When Job says his girlfriend, does he really mean Guy's girlfriend or his girlfriend?
Or
It was Rochelle Beck.
Oh my gosh.
have a feeling I didn't really mail anything. I might have wrote something. for
Laddie,
sure.
where's Kathy?
I'm here.
Okay, back it up, Laddie.
Okay, so this is what I know is that first summer that we were all in Chesterfield, I had 5th grade camp. And so I did not get to come up until the last few weeks. But I don't remember anything about Rochelle Beck. I remember being there when Anjanette was, and she was doing her voice scales in the morning, hoping to impress Joseph, and it had the opposite effect.
On everyone.
Yeah.
Okay, who's
but she was a family friend of ours. Justin was befriended and sort of adopted by them right before his mission. So when we moved to Idaho Falls, he lived with them instead of moving to Idaho for like 4 months and then going on his mission. So she was Ruth's age, and so she was just one of our friends.
We also went on our first family history trip to Nauvoo and Palmyra, and somehow I became her best friend, deciphering MC Hammer lyrics while my boy cousins were going meeting girls.
Nice. But I do want to chime in real quick on the women's work and the dishes thing. Like I said, I wasn't there the whole summer, but I remember when that issue came up, and Louise gave a huge lecture to everyone, but mostly to the boys, about there's no such thing as men's work and women's work, because the girls had been helping haul the pipe. But then within a day or two, we were in lava at Ken's house, and the wind had blown the hay out of its rows. And at 2 a.m. in the full moonlight, we all went out with pitchforks to straighten out the rows. And someone said, "We're not doing this. This is man's work." And I thought, yeah, right. Anyway.
I remember that, and we were singing "Whose Hand Was in the Cookie Jar" song or whatever to keep us awake in the middle of the.
Yeah, that's crazy. But yeah, sorry, Joseph, I don't remember one thing about any letter sent to Rochelle Beck.
Oh yeah, you girls sticking together on this one, huh?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I remember catching flies, and Ruth would take floss and put a little string around their head, and we would have the flies on a leash, but she was the only one that could make the knot small enough in the boys' bedroom.
So you have to have many hands, like doll
Yeah,
hands?
she had little hands, and I remember how weird that was, but fun.
Maybe the reason why I'm so lazy still to this day is I didn't have to do the men's or the women's work. I didn't do dishes or move pipe. I don't know what I did.
You probably got ran over by the four-wheeler.
Tim, when this was coming up the past few days, I tried to think of what I did all day, and I know I didn't help around the house enough as much as I probably should have, but I wasn't doing any real work outside either, so I couldn't figure out what in the world I was doing for the whole summer.
Writing letters. You were
Playing
writing
with
letters
paper
to
dolls.
people that was
Practicing
not
my
your business.
penmanship to Joseph's pretend girlfriend that I for sure never wrote to.
Playing with paper dolls until they
Yeah.
get drowned.
Yeah, and then I remember you took me into Chesterfield or wherever, some town, and bought me a new one, and it was Miss Black USA, and I was so excited.
We probably had board games and card games there too.
Yeah, I mean, I know we read, and you would read to us, Mom, at night.
Remember the stories? What books?
No.
Wasn't it about that? Didn't we read about that black family there?
Yeah, rolling thunder, hear my
Yeah.
cry.
Yeah. Okay. I thought we read that.
Yeah.
One of those pictures I sent to Tim, had you seen those, Tim?
No, I haven't got any email yet.
Okay. Shows all of you kids with your head on the floor, with your feet sticking out, your heads to the wall. And I don't know what game you were playing, but that's one of the pictures.
Yeah.
One regret I have is at some point we drove into lava and there was a cool enough found a Jeep for sale on Main Street. And we were looking around at it and trying to decide if Jopes and I should buy it. Maybe it was Jopes, me and Guy. And for some dumb reason, we didn't. It was like $100 for a Jeep.
It probably 'cause it wasn't reliable.
Yeah.
That wouldn't have stopped Guy, so it must have been another reason.
Should we have a?
Give us the context for not reliable.
All right, I'll share it since it was my car. So when I was 15, I got my driver's license. And about 2 months before that, I was driving around in Pocatello with my dad. And we saw this 1967 Volkswagen Squareback. And I don't know if somehow Jitsu had clouded my brains with Volkswagens were great and that everyone should own one. But I thought it was a cool car.
No. There wasn't any clouding. That was clarity. Go ahead.
Okay, so either way, I decided that that was the car I was going to get. So I bought it and drove it for a couple of years. And then I think that I had just barely, it was the summer that I'd come to stay with Ken and Colleen, and then I ended up living there for the next three years. And Joseph loved the car. He wanted it, but he couldn't justify having probably like a fifth vehicle. So we convinced Guy that he needed it. And so Guy called Audrey and Doug on the phone and was talking to them. And when Audrey asked him why Brandon wanted to sell the car, he said, "Because it's not reliable, Mom." So it was the ultimate selling point for the vehicle.
So Amber, tell us about following the car home.
Oh my gosh. So Guy had driven up to there, I think it was when my dad had left me in Idaho, maybe. No, that was a different time. But so Guy drove the car up to Idaho, and then Joseph and Guy were driving the square back home, and I had to follow them. And I was in high school, and I think I had driven to school and back and to church and back, and I was not like on the freeway. Like I think maybe I topped out on a good like 45 miles an hour ever. Like I was not a big driver. And so we were driving and I had to follow him because I had no idea how to get back. I mean, in my mind, I'm sure I was lost forever if I didn't know where they were. So I was following, and they were driving so fast that my speedometer, literally the needle was buried in, like I could not see it anymore. So when we stopped and I got out of the car and I was screaming at Joseph about how bad of a driver he was, and I couldn't believe it. And Joseph could not believe that they were going so fast in that car, and he was so proud that they could get that car to go that fast. He was like, whoa, that is amazing. And so I'm furious because I was pretty sure he was going to kill me, and he was unbelievably proud that that car was in such good shape that it could get up to 80, 90, 100, whatever it was.
I'm still proud.
I believe it, and I'm still mad. So I guess we're both there.
Oh man, that's good times. We did some pretty dicey stuff.
Okay, Mr. Brent, give us your 2 cents.
So Joseph, I'm surprised you dare drive that fast after you got busted in Malad Pass taking me to Idaho once. Would have been before that.
When I did my, yeah. My deal was with you was before my mission. I'm pretty sure this was after.
Yeah. And I think the speedometer was broken on the square back. So they didn't have a clue how fast they were going. So it wasn't until afterwards. And I said, while I was in hysterics telling him that I didn't know how fast we were going either because the needle was buried. So he wouldn't have known either.
Yeah, Amber, you remember that exactly.
See, I remember stuff like how I didn't write a letter to your girlfriend.
You're wrong about that one, but
So what did the letter say, Joe?
so I met this girl my freshman year, and then the summer I went to work up there, and she and I kind of became friends. So we were pen paling back and forth, and I had several of her letters with her address on it. And one day, the mailman came and left, and Amber and somebody else, which I thought was Kathy, but it was another girl, was like, yeah, we wrote Rochelle a letter. In time, I got a letter back from her that said, I think that there's been some misunderstanding. I'm only a friend, Rochelle. So I don't know what Amber put in that letter, but Rochelle would not hang out with me again till after my mission. And by then I didn't want to hang out with her. So the truth is Amber did me a huge favor.
Well, I don't remember, but you're welcome. But I still don't believe it.
I remember it.
Yeah, Tim remembers that. He gave me her wedding announcement.
We have a
willing to
lot of
share about 3 things, Tim, that I can remember that stick out to me. If that's all right.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. Oh man.
Right, so one of the main things I remember is in the boys' room, there was built-in closet, and the doors open, and somehow I finagled my way into sleeping in the top of that shelf, and that's where my bed was for the however many nights I stayed there. Do you remember that, Josie?
Absolutely, I sure do remember that.
I do.
BT always loved the top shelf.
He had the weirdest sleeping spots for sure.
Remember
they
his
were always
spot
the
in the
best
back
Top of the closet, back of the van.
the back of the van, in the top of all the luggage.
Slept like a baby every time. One of the other things I remember is that was probably the first time that I ever had done scripture study with a family. So that was a good thing that stuck out in my mind. I remember waking up early and doing that. And I also remember Audrey reading to us. So I remember I only got probably 1 or 2 chapters of Roll Up Under Hear My Cry, but I do remember sitting there and listening to her read us that story. And one of the main things I remember, I don't remember if this was that summer, Joseph, or if it was another time when we were at Chesterfield, but I think it was right after we barely got that 3-wheeler fixed, and you and I had got on it. And Steve Hedman was out there with us, and he's telling us, all right, you guys be careful now. And so I was revving it up, feeling cool. And I don't know if it's just you or if Jess and Guy were on the back too, but I was revving it hard, and I kicked that thing into gear, and we popped a giant wheelie and got everybody off the back of it.
I do remember that. Dumped us all off. I remember that.
Me too. Yep.
I don't
Those were-
remember. Excuse me. Did you have something
ahead.
else about that?
I can say those are about the only three things that I can really remember. Moving pipe, and I'm sure the only reason I went out there is because Jess was there. So I must have been there at the time before Jess went back to Provo. But I do remember one other thing. We were sitting around eating dinner after we moved pipe in the evening, and we had Tang. I don't know if Audrey found that in the basement too, but she mixed Tang together, and we were sitting there visiting, and Jess and Tim loved the Chicago Bulls. And at that time, they were always playing the Detroit Pistons. And we were sitting there talking about those, and Guy said something, someone said something, and Guy said, well, that just pistons me off. And I remember Tang, the sensation of that burning through my nose as I shot it out my nose. Anyone remember that?
Yes, and those were the days when Guy, about every three things out of his mouth was so funny and so extemporaneous. Man, he come up with stuff. And he was always singing stuff and then altering the lyrics. And that's when he started in on the Big Bad John thing right around that time.
Do we have any other people like Melanie, Marie, Tanya that want to chime in?
Yeah, I want to know what we were doing. How often would Ken and Colleen's, I would just been 6, but how often would we come out? I just have a couple memories being at the house in Chesterfield, but minimal.
I would say probably 2 or 3 times that summer, because usually we saw you guys back at the Lazy A Ranch.
Yeah, I remember Melanie, I think Melanie's on, or she was, staying over just a couple nights, but usually they were doing stuff at their house.
I remember oh, go ahead, Brent.
I would think I was going to say the exact thing you were. I remember wanting to be there and hanging out with you more, but we had to be doing our own chores on the ranch.
Yeah. So much fun. We would just come and it would just be a blast. Just I'll share a couple of my memories. A bunch of what's already been shared, but I remember playing a lot of Uno, and we would Nicole wanted to be a cartoon animator, so we would trace and try and draw like the 7 dwarfs a lot. We must have had some kind of book that we would trace or try and copy. Tracing was cheating, but if you could just copy it while looking at it, then you were pretty good. And
I remember her drawing those, and I remember being impressed with her drawings.
We recently found some of those drawings, actually.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
That would be fun to see. A couple other things. I remember Ruth asking to drive the car a loop around the house, the Chesterfield house, and asking Louise how many times she could drive it around. And Louise said a few times. And Ruth said, how many times is a few? And Louise said 3 to 8. So we drove it 8 times around. And I have used that definition for few on my own kids, remembering what Louise said. Mom, how many is a few? About 3 to 8. So they take it to the same limit that we did.
I remember Louise telling the kids that if they were bored to lay on the grass, look at the sky and soak up the boredom.
That's great.
You remember that, Louise? No. I also remember hearing about Steve Hebden or somebody thinking that there were a polygamous family living out there and being really embarrassed when I did meet him. I didn't want to be around him. I can't remember what he looks like or anything about him now, but I remember being
Mom,
embarrassed.
didn't you bring a shovel because you thought the house was going to be in such disarray you were going to literally have to shovel crap to get out before we could live in it?
I wasn't, I remember being unsure about what shape that house was going to be in because I couldn't get any information from anyone about it, but I don't remember shovels.
Well, I can tell you two things. One, Steve Hebden knew the situation and he was there to help. He'd come several times a week to help show me about moving the pipe and the main line, and he knew the plan. He's the one that told us the neighbors were saying that, and he had to straighten them out. So I'm sorry you thought he was the culprit. And yeah, there's that. Oh, there's something else.
Should we ask Ken or Colleen or Jim if the Chesterfield venture of Guy and Joseph running it was profitable for them or not?
Yeah, I would love to know if Jim was losing sleep at night at the thought of a bunch of rough kids running around out there, or if he was sleeping well.
What do you say, Jim?
Oh, I could sleep well. Knew everything was under control and it was all good.
You knew if we were in a jam, we'd pray our way out of it, huh?
Absolutely.
Well, I got the photos from Audrey, so I can share those. It'll be kind of boring for everyone who's just on the phone and not on video, but I'll just flip through these real quick.
Oh, that was perfect. It's got Dave Morris and Anjanette.
Yeah, we can describe the photos to you, Jim.
Oh, you show them to me someday.
What's in the window?
Cool snow.
Louise.
So it looks like we got Anjanette, Don, Jess, Joseph's friend David Morris, or what's his name?
Yes.
And then Caleb. Wait, that's Guy.
It does look like Caleb.
Kathy, I think she's picking her nose.
She's not picking her nose.
Tim, Ruth, Amber, Joseph. I think you
So
still
I
have
wanna
those
know, like-
overalls, don't you, Joseph?
Kathy and Tim weren't in the tan contest with BT because those are some pretty tan looking legs.
Oh, BT.
We didn't live in lava.
Those are dirt from Chesterfield.
And you got all of it in your bath, right?
Oh boy.
That's when we were just going to go to Chesterfield the first time.
Yeah, I remember that trip. We got to Tree Mountain and there was a garage sale at the side of the highway. We were moving down the road, blocked up the brakes, left rubber on the ground. We backed up and went shopping.
Apparently, I thought Chesterfield was a reservoir.
A lot of good memories of Doug and Audrey's blue station wagon.
Yeah.
Sitting in the way back, looking out the other way.
Yeah.
There's a three-wheeler on the open prairie.
No wonder people thought we were polygamous. Look at that herd in there.
I know, too bad that's not more clear on the right, because that's Kim and Marcy's and
There's Drew, Cammy,
Tiffany.
Tiffany, Jess. That's probably Melanie, I bet.
Yeah, that's Melanie.
That's Wendy.
Yeah.
That's Colleen.
Is that Brent then?
Brent's probably bigger than that.
Oh, that's Kevin. Yeah,
That's Kevin.
Yeah.
Because I think I'm the one that you.
Yeah. Yeah,
back
Brent's
to
older.
my back's to the camera.
And over here, that's Amber, right?
Yeah.
And then BT and Guy, Don, Nicole.
That's Marie.
That's Marie?
Yeah.
Is that Nicole then?
Yeah.
And Tanya, Milo. I don't know who that is.
That's Lena.
Lena.
Oh, Lena.
And where was I? Moving the pipe.
There's Guy and Joe doing their dishes.
There you go, Amber.
Photo op staged.
There's Amber being lazy.
That's when you guys are doing the dishes.
Oh my gosh.
Guys got a squirrel.
It's right before we nailed it to the back of the barn.
I can't believe how small you guys look to me.
Boy, I did love that hat.
Yeah, a bunch of little midgets moving pipe, huh?
Yeah.
Look at Guy's country outfit. That is so good. It's like Tom Sawyer.
The winter snow coat.
Why do I have memories of just Guy being at our house, like he was helping us for something, but no one else was there?
Guy lived with us.
Yeah, he came for the summer.
More later. Yeah. Everything I know about music I learned from Guy. First time I ever saw CDs in my life.
Yeah.
This is Melanie. Can you hear me? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're in the car, but I was just going to share a memory. One of the times we went to Chesterfield for the evening and we had dinner together, and Amber didn't like whatever was being served. And so, Amber, you asked Audrey if you could just fry some cheese. And she kind of finally agreed that you could. And I remember you just like cooking the cheese until it kind of got like bubbly, and that's what you ate, and you shared some with me. And that was the most like extravagant thing to me. I thought, this is so amazing. I can't believe her mom lets her just eat cheese.
That's funny, because one of the memories I was going to say was like, I remember frying cheese with Melanie, and I thought Kathy was there at one point, because it wasn't a one-time thing that we'd cut cheese and fry it, and that was what I'd eat.
That still is extravagant to me, Melanie. I can't even get myself to do that to this day because I feel like I'm wasting food if I don't eat it with bread.
Totally.
It's just ahead of the times. I think that's part of like the keto diet or something.
Well,
I'll have to
anyone
send you
else?
some, Tim. I have lots of great pictures of Chesterfield.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I have pictures of all those squirrels hanging on the barn, Dad.
Really?
Be great.
Yeah, I went and worked there for about a
Yeah,
month
I remember.
Oh, yeah.
that summer.
You did
Email them to me, Wilga.
Yeah, I fixed fences.
Nice. Well, do we have any more Chesterfield stories?
I have one more. I know people have lots more, but I'll share one. We, Louise, Ruth, and I were in the car, and I don't think it was our cattle, but someone's cattle was were on the road, and we were waiting patiently. And Ruth said, "Mom, why don't you just honk the horn and the cows would get out of the way?" And Louise said, "Well, you don't honk the horn only unless you're a city slicker. Country folk just wait patiently for the cows to move." And then about 1 minute later, Louise honks her horn. and Ruth said, "Mom, does that mean you're a city slicker?" And Louise said, "I guess it does."
Ruth, were you going to share something?
I do. Am I live?
Yeah.
Yes. I remember a little bit about that, but not nearly as much as you who spent so much time there. But I felt good because we had pipe movers. We had someone at the house, Audrey most of the time, and Louise to supervise things. And I took great satisfaction in how you were learning to work and be responsible and all this stuff. And we appreciated Steve Hebden, especially because seems to me like he would check on you 1 or 2 times a day and make sure the 3-wheeler was running right and taking care of you. But where were Willis and Justin at this time? Weren't they back in Provo doing their BMW competitions? Now, at the beginning, I think Willis and Justin helped build that fence, the perimeter fence around the place with railroad ties and nice wire. But,
So Justin would have been on his mission. Willis was a returned missionary, and Willis was hired to fix the fence. Willis spent the time there on the fence while we were moving pipe.
Okay, I didn't realize that they were that old then. But Jim and I were out there building fence between us and Rondo on the property that goes east. And Brent was there with a 22, and he was not alone. I don't know who was with him, but Jim and I were fencing, and Brent and whoever was there, I guess they were looking for squirrels, but the squirrels must have hibernated by then. And I made a remark about they'd shot up enough ammunition to shoot out all the lights in Las Vegas Strip, and hadn't got anything. And when I got home that night and went to bed, there was a note to me from Brent, and it was not very complimentary toward me. And boy, that made me pause. I don't know. Do you remember that, Brent?
I remember. I remember the occasion. I remember going out there and you guys were fencing all day, and I was just wandering around with the single shot 22 looking for anything to shoot. And I shot at some birds that were half a mile away, and I don't remember writing you a note, but I remember being disappointed in my hunting outing.
Well, the note said that you had gotten a bird that day. and I was pretty I realized how sensitive that you kids were, and I needed to be careful about being talking derogatorily. But you were not alone. Somebody was with you hunting. I don't know who it was.
Well, here's what I can tell you about that fence. The fence was crooked, and Rondo Perkins had the other fence, and there was some question whether the survey marker had been moved or not. that went on and on. And so Steve was out there with you and Jim trying to figure it out, how to make the fence straight and not lose any property. And finally, Steve Hebden said, well, spit in the wind, fart twice, and put it right here. I couldn't believe he was that vulgar.
Well, we tried to make it right, and we made it crooked on purpose to see that neither us or Rondo got hurt. And Bill Perkins was the kind of in charge, and we'd ride up the road west of the highway and look up the line to see if it should be this way or that way. And when we got it all done, why Rondo come and looked at it, and he was pretty critical. He says, well, I wish you'd just left it the way it was.
Be sure and have Ruth tell her part.
I'm done.
Okay, Ruth.
Okay, I remember it was so much fun. I do not remember how much time I was up there, but I used a basement that was musty. And I don't know what I was also trying to think, what did we do the whole time? But I remember I was trying to do my own, some kind of training, I guess, so that I'd be ready for the basketball season. Would go dribble in the Quonset hut and try to do various exercises. I wasn't really that disciplined or did a lot, but that was one of the things that I was working on. And at least once, but I think several times, then when the came out to visit, somehow we were able to go to the Chesterfield Ward building and play basketball in the cultural hall. And that was so much fun. It was awesome. And here, I'm trying to do my thing to get better at basketball, and all my cousins blow me away with their awesome moves and athleticism. It was a lot of fun. And one time, I think we even played soccer outside. And so at least once Cammie was there, because that's another thing I remember is, whoa, I thought us kids from Provo played soccer, and here all my cousins are schooling me. But it was lots of fun. Also, one thing, can't remember who got us started with this. I think of Jess and Brandon as being the ones that spearheaded it. But to put a tennis ball on a string and swing it around at dusk to attract the bat. So we would go out and do that and watch the bats fly around in the evening sometimes. That was cool. And I also and Louise, maybe you can tell us about this. I thought that during scripture study or during our time there, that brought the inspiration for the family history trip, the church history trip that the extended family took, which later led to a second one, which was so much fun, where we got to stock trailers and go as even a bigger group. But as Brent said, we kind of brought this up at the beginning about not only Chesterfield, but all the memories. And if we wanted to go on and talk about the other memories with cousins, I feel like I'm so blessed with my childhood of having so many great cousins. Speed at the Bayou Farm and playing in the loft in lava and building things in the hay, and Tanya teaching us how to fish, and countless things. I'm sure we could have multiple Zoom calls on that, but I feel one of the last weekends we had, Jay and I were coming back down the summit when I don't even know, was it Hoyt's Peak? We go up and look out, but coming back down, talking about how extremely blessed we felt to be part of the Andrus family, where there's so much love and acceptance, and we look forward to getting together in family groups, and what a true wealth that is of having, being a part of this family. So that's awesome. Thank you all. I love you, and I appreciate the good memories and great examples.
Okay, are you done, Ruth? I'll respond to her request then. Some of you have said you don't remember what you did all day. So Audrey went and was the supervisor and cook for the first while. And then at some point I traded her and I was there. And I remember one day that the kids, well, they would get up and move the pipe and then have the devotional and so on. But then it was so noisy. The kids would run and play games and laugh and run through the house and whatever. And so one of the days, in order to get out of the noise, I went out in the car with my scriptures when I was reading and thinking, and I got the prompting. It said, you should take your children on a church history trip and expose them to their heritage so that it will increase their testimony of the gospel. And if you will do your part, the way will be opened up so that you'll be able to afford it. And I wrote that down, and then I mentioned it to Doug and Audrey, and oh my goodness, they took over. Audrey planned the trip. This was before the internet. She planned the trip. She did it with AAA maps. She knew every campground we were going to stay at, and every place we were going to stay, every place we were going to visit. They bought a travel trailer, and Audrey planned all the meals, had them all stacked in the travel trailer. I gave my part of the money. They did everything. Kim and Marcy let us take their van. We took Nicole and Brandon and Jeanette. Anybody else? And we went clear to the Palmyra pageant, and then the church history sites on the way back. It was just absolutely marvelous. So the day we left, this is my memory, Doug and Audrey showed up at our house in our driveway, and I crawled in the back of their station wagon on piles and piles and piles of sleeping bags. And I just leaned back, just laid back in the back. And from that minute on, I felt like a queen in one of those chairs that they carry around. I felt like a queen the whole trip, because they did all of the work, and I just laid back and enjoyed every minute of it. It was a huge blessing to me.
That should be a separate family call we do, don't you think? I'm just saying, we could dedicate a whole another thing to that, to church history trips, riding in stock trailers.
So Tim, so we can each tell our version of what happened when we're at Cabela's in the horizontal storm.
Yeah.
With the horse in the back. Before we close, I want to say how bad I felt for Guy when he had a girlfriend and he was down at the girlfriend's place and her father asked if he was an Eagle Scout. And he wasn't. And he said, "We'll come back when you're an Eagle Scout. My daughters are going to marry Eagle Scouts." And I know Guy went, all of a sudden got really interested in scouting. But I sure felt sorry for Guy. I thought that was pretty abusive.
Yeah.
Doug, what do you remember about having Audrey gone so long?
Not a lot. It wasn't too hard on me. The hardest part was trying to explain to my neighbors and ward members why my wife had left me for the summer. And coming up with a good reason for that. That was a little uncomfortable. Other than that, I was okay with it.
Hey, at one point when Willis and I were up there, or after, I think there was a rule where if you brought back a squirrel tail, you got another 22 bullets. Was there any incentive in your Chesterfield summers besides pride to shoot squirrels?
We were told that we could get 2 cents for a bullet. Yeah, to replace the bullet for every squirrel that we got. Milo had a bolt action 22, and Milo hit everything he aimed at. Everything he aimed at, he hit. Now the rest of us, we hit everything we aimed at too, but it took us 15 shells. So we were too embarrassed to collect. We never brought that up.
I remember we went to try to cut the first one, we got its tail off, and it wasn't so easy. And so we hooked it back in its hole and bagged that. Except for the ones we nailed up.
That is true. It was hard to harvest the tails.
I
Easier
remember,
to pull the trigger and move on.
I remember when Jess got our dad's 22 pistol and holster and was lugging that around on his hip with him once, and out came a squirrel 2 feet away from him, and he rattled off 5 or 6 shots point blank and never quite hit it.
So bad, dude. I totally remember how crap that was.
I remember too, Joseph shot one that went straight down the squirrel from the top of its neck all the way down to the tail, perfect line down its belly, and split it open perfectly in half. And we were all amazed at that.
One day you were hunting squirrels and Milo was there and he was in that pasture that was a little wet on the inside of the L curve, which you'd have been south and west of the house across the road. And the fish and game guy come along showing his authority and said you had to have a license to be in the field, to carry a gun in the field. And I said, that is my field and my son. Boy, I was mad at that fish and game guy. Ooh, I was mad at him. That was our own field and our own son. He had no business even making any comment at all. But that's not the only time I've been mad at Fish and Game for their Gestapo position and attitude.
Well, now that a bunch of us have kids, we could sure use a Chesterfield these days. Send them off to.
Jess, maybe Lindsay would volunteer to be there. Take care of
bad chance.
If Lindsay wouldn't, I would.
All right. Unless anyone else has something about Chesterfield specifically, I'm going to stop the recording.
Okay, after you stop it, we'll plan the Church history trip Zoom meeting.
Okay, I'm gonna stop it now then. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Been trying to think. I've been trying to think for a long time and can't remember any of them. So, sorry.
Okay, I'm gonna show you guys real quick. Willis just sent me some more photos of
Do you wanna
Chesterfield.
record it again then?
Yeah, I'm recording. So what's this, Willis?
I don't know, some cool old car in that area.
So that's you after your mission?
Uh-huh.
What?
Oh my gosh.
What was the idea behind that? Just keeping track of them?
I think it was just trophies, wasn't it?
It was
Making them
just
pay.
watching the way that they stretched out over time and the decay. It was not anything scientific or
Children of the corn.
I think it was just like, you know, you go hunting and you shoot a big buck or something, you mount it. I think it's just mounting the.
Yeah, it was just showing how good the traps were.
Anyway, those are the photos. So thanks, Willis.